shine your light on me.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. Join award-winning host Dale Davidson as he interviews the most remarkable people you'll find in the entertainment capital of the world. You'll meet entertainers, sports figures, newsmakers, community and business leaders, and people just like you with stories that'll touch your heart. Now, here's Dale Davidson.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We are at the Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, Nevada, here at the Paris Hotel. We're talking about freedom, we're talking about economics, we're talking about smaller government, all that kind of stuff. But we're also talking about Christianity, which is obviously important to all of us who watch this show and participate in it. And wrapping all of that up, we're going to talk with a hero, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
He truly is. His name is Captain Jim Green, and I'm going to call you Jim, if you don't mind. Thanks for coming on.
Glad to be here.
We appreciate it. You have quite a story, quite a life story, and you've made an awful lot of your life, and you've done it all as a Christian, which is wonderful.
I have.
Let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Utah, actually. My father was going to University of Utah Medical School.
Oh, okay.
And his family had been quite poor, and so he had to put himself through school. So he worked really hard all the way through, playing bass fiddle, just doing whatever he could.
Yeah.
And made it through, became an anesthesiologist, and went to Portland, Oregon, to do his residency and internship. And we liked it there, so we stayed.
Oh,
so I grew up
okay.
in Oregon.
Oh,
so
okay.
I got web feet, and I'm an Oregon duck.
That's nice.
Loved it up there. So.
Yeah.
And, then I came back down to Utah to go to school. Went to Brigham Young University. Met my wife there, and we got married. And Vietnam War was going on at the time, and I probably was going to be drafted, I figured. So I wanted to do something more than just to go over and fight in the jungle on the ground.
Right.
And so I joined the Navy
wise
to become
decision.
to become a pilot.
Okay.
And became a naval aviator.
Wow.
And loved it. It was great. Spent 7 years in the Navy, right at the end of the Vietnam War. And by the time I got my wings, the war had just ended. And so I ended up not having...
In the mid-'70s.
It was 73, right about when the war ended.
Yeah,
and so
it was wrapping up. Yeah.
At the time, I mean, it sounds sad, but I was disappointed because I was trained to go fly and fight.
You were ready,
and I was ready to go drop bombs and rockets and strafe and all.
Yeah.
But the war was over, and so I ended up not going. Now I'm glad when I look back on it. We spent the last 4 years in the Navy in the Philippines.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of the staging area for Vietnam.
Did you like the Philippines?
We did. We loved it there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place.
It was great, and they're very good Christians there as well too.
They
Wonderful
sure are.
people. So.
Yeah, they sure are. And what did you like about being a naval aviator? What attracted you to it? And then you stayed quite a while. So yeah. What was interesting to you about
actually,
that?
What started my interest was when I was 13 years old. I went to the National Boy Scout Jamboree in Colorado Springs.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I saw the Blue Angels fly.
Oh, okay.
And they came streaking overhead in their blue, pretty airplanes doing all those aerobatics. And I thought, if I could ever do that, I would jump on it.
That would be it. Oh, yeah.
And so when it came time, when I had a chance to do that, I did. So I actually flew the A4, which the Blues had flown for a while. And,
okay.
And so I got trained in dogfighting and air-to-air weaponry, air-to-ground, everything.
Wow.
And it was really fun.
Wow.
And so dogfighting was just a real kick. It was like, and I couldn't believe it. We got paid to do that. We were defending the country.
Sure.
And the war was over. There in the Philippines, it was sad in a way because what was happening there was we still had kind of a mop-up operation going on in Laos and Cambodia, where we had not.
I recall that.
We had not really been at war with them, but we were supporting the Khmer Rouge then. We thought they were the valid government. We didn't know what was going on with Pol Pot and everything.
Yeah.
And as it turned out later on, it was quite a sad thing.
It's hard to pick sides sometimes when there's two bad sides.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
But loved it, and then got ready to get out of the Navy. Actually, I planned to be a veterinarian. That's what I was going to do. Yeah.
That's interesting.
But as I was getting ready to get out of the Navy, veterinarians were predicting a surplus, too many of them, and a shortage of pilots. And so I thought, well, I really like flying, and so I just changed course, and which you can do that in America. It's nice to be able to choose.
Isn't it nice? Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And so I applied for the airline, got hired. As soon as I got back, I picked up and flew for Continental Airlines, which became United later on.
Yeah.
And flew there for 26 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And we always say that flying is better than having to work for a living.
You really enjoyed it, even through all of that?
Oh, I loved it. Loved it.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about differences. I said to my wife yesterday when we landed, we're coming from Tucson back up to Las Vegas. 2 days ago. Pilots were ex-military, as opposed to some of the other airlines. Hence the hard landings.
Well, the Navy pilots used to just we call it a controlled crash. So
yeah, that's what it is.
But I was kind of worried actually when I got out of the military, when we had been doing all this kind of stuff, and just to fly straight and level all the time.
Yeah.
Gradual 30-degree max bank angle, so you don't scare grandma on the back of the airplane.
That's right.
So I thought it's going to be really boring, but I found the people aspect made it all worthwhile.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. It was. I would say goodbye to my passengers getting off the airplane every day. I'd stand there, going on their honeymoon or vacation or to see grandma.
Yeah.
So it's a very positive environment.
I was happy most of the time.
And so it was just like an upbeat, positive environment all the time. And there aren't many jobs where you get that kind of immediate appreciation.
That kind of affirmation, that you're.
We appreciate you doing that.
Thank you. I was sitting next to a pilot, and of that airline. He was a pretty interesting man to start with. Big, tall guy. He was like 6'8". I said, first of all, what do you do for a living? He said, it's a terrible, terrible job. I said, really, what is it? He said, she said, you see that door right there?
Yeah.
She said, walk up to that door, open it, and turn left.
That was
I
his
said,
office.
you're an airline captain? He said, yeah. But he said one of the reasons that he put all the stuff, kind of hid his credentials, was everybody would say to him, can you actually fit in that cockpit?
Oh, yeah.
Because he was so big.
Yeah.
But he said the same thing to me, that he just loved the personal aspect of it all, and helping people get from point A to point B, when it's important.
My wife's cousin worked for them.
Okay.
And I thought about that seriously, and then I passed it up because I thought, I don't want to fly boxes around for the rest of my career. They don't clap when you land, a smooth landing or anything. So he could not believe that I passed up on that, but I was glad I did. I loved my career. It was really fun.
That's wonderful.
Well, right now, all of us that are retiring because of age limitation, we don't have enough young people coming into the pipeline right now.
Oh, is that right?
We have a pilot shortage throughout the entire world.
I had no idea that was going on.
Oh, really intense.
Yeah.
In fact, there are only about 15% of young people coming in to replace all of us that are retiring.
We so you're involved with education in the aviation field now, in Utah, right? Tell us about that.
Well, when I retired, we went to China for a year, taught at a university in Shanghai, my wife and I did, which was really fun. Yeah,
That's interesting.
We had a ball. We traveled all over China, and we loved the Chinese people. And then when I came back, I got a job at Utah Valley University in Utah there, in their aviation science department.
Oh, okay.
Teaching future pilots. So that's what we were doing. It was just training young people, getting their degree and getting ready to go to the airline. And it was great. I loved it. It was almost as good as flying for the airline.
Really?
Working with the young people and all. And
you liked
it. So we had a lot of fun doing that.
Oh, okay.
And then I just retired from that. That was my second, third career, however you want to define it.
Sure, yeah.
And then started, I have a partnership with a Chinese company right now. We're bringing Chinese students over from China to train here in the U.S. For pilots and flight attendants.
Oh, really? That's very interesting.
That's what I'm doing right now. So.
Do you see that as really being the future recruitment area is China now for aviation, or is that?
It's just they have the demand there is actually higher. That's now coming up with more income there, and they can fly. They can afford to fly.
Yeah.
So the airlines are expanding dramatically over there, and they don't have near. They're so grateful for it.
Oh, really?
So, and it's really great. The Chinese students are wonderful, and plus there's a human. I was there in January. I was in China in Hangzhou.
Oh, okay.
And actually, I was Nanjing. I spoke to a group of students at a school there.
Oh, okay.
And they spoke pretty good English, and so I did my asking. They were very fascinated by just the prospect of becoming a pilot. To them was just like, wow, this is so cool.
This is huge.
But one of the students raised his hand. He said, "What do you think of Trump?" And so I said, "Well, we don't talk politics when we're abroad at all. But I said, I want you to know that the American people love the Chinese people." When I said that, the whole class erupted in cheers and claps. They were so thrilled.
They would love to hear that. Americans say that.
Because all they see is the news and the political aspects that can be very negative.
Yeah.
But just to hear that from the American people, we love the Chinese people. There's no reason we can't just work with each other. And so we feel that bringing these Chinese students over, we've already had a number of them. They learn that Americans are not bad people. They're really good people.
No, yeah.
Unlike
nothing like experience.
what they've heard or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that aspect, I think, it's bringing the two communities together. So we're doing more of it's not just the training and helping them to have a career in aviation, but actually helping them to appreciate us as their brothers and sisters here in the U.S. You know? So.
Some years ago, my son, one of my sons, I have 4 of them, taught English in Shenzhen.
Ah, cool.
And at the time, now it's opened up even more, and they've had experience with many Americans since. But he told me, if you want to feel like a rock star, and you happen to be 6'6" and blonde and blue-eyed, walk into any store in China, because he said they practically would rub his skin to make sure it wasn't going to come off. They were just thrilled with looking at somebody, and he was teaching middle school kids and high school kids.
Oh, great.
I think more middle school. Yeah. And I said, what would they ask? He said they would ask about America, and what it's really like, and then they would ask. He said the boys would ask me, how much money do you make? And the girls wanted to know if I was married.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I can imagine. He was very popular among ladies, I'm sure.
He was a handsome young single guy at the time.
Well, the other thing they ask me about too are guns. They love, because here in the U.S. we have guns, and so the CEO of a corporation we're working with came over last year, and he and the COO, CFO were all together, and their secretary. Right. And I took them shooting there in Utah, and they loved it. It was
that's
so
wonderful.
fun because they don't have guns. Even the police don't have guns.
Yeah, I know.
So they were,
let's address that issue. I want to talk about it more in our second segment, which is coming up here quickly. But you're very much a Second Amendment kind of guy.
Very much.
And you have an interesting take on arming commercial airline pilots. We're going to take a brief break, and I'd like to come back and talk about that in general and then the specifics as well.
Great.
We are really pleased to have with us Captain Jim Green, who is going to talk now about the Second Amendment coming up. He's a great Christian guy. He's a hero.
Thank you.
He's turned out to be a really good guy. His parents thought he would be, but it's really happened.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. So.
We'll be back with Jim Green right after these messages. Dale Davidson and the team at Las Vegas Tonight firmly believe that the only solution to today's serious problems is the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Dale carefully selects his guests on the show, making sure that their dedication to our Lord is heartfelt and genuine, and that their ministries are making a strong and positive difference in the world. Dale doesn't charge anyone to be on Las Vegas Tonight. The cost to produce and air the programs are covered by donations from our ministry's partners. We thank you so much for your financial support, and most of all for your prayers. Please consider becoming a partner of Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries for just $40 per month. For a little more than $1 a day, you'll be helping us bring the good news of Jesus Christ to millions of people around the world. The television networks that broadcast the program reach from coast to coast in the United States, and through internet apps cover the entire world. Your $40 monthly contribution entitles you to Dale's newsletter that gives you a behind-the-scenes look at the production of Las Vegas Tonight and inside information on the exciting guests Dale interviews on every episode. You'll also receive a copy of Dale's book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, an in-depth look at 10 of Dale's most intriguing guests, plus a very personal story of how Dale came to Christ and the challenges he faces in bringing the good news to the world. Become a partner of our ministry today by going to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries website and clicking on the donate button, or by emailing Dale at dale@lasvegastonight.tv. Or you can write him at Dale Davidson, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Thank you for watching Las Vegas Tonight, and may God bless you abundantly. The Lord has made it possible for our show, Las Vegas Tonight, to thrive. We've produced well over 300 episodes telling the remarkable stories of Christians who have set out to change the world for the better. It's my honor to lead this ministry. As the founder of Dale Davidson Ministries, I'm commanded to be a good steward of all the donations our partners have so generously provided to us. As you can imagine, it takes a great deal of money to keep this program on the air in the United States and around the world. Please prayerfully consider making a one-time donation or becoming a monthly partner of Dale Davidson Ministries. Just go to vegassaints.org and select Make a Donation, or send your check or money order made out to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada 89117. For more information, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you. Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. We're here with Captain Jim Green, formerly of the United States Navy as an aviator, a commercial airline pilot, an instructor, and now we're going to talk about the Second Amendment. Yeah, let's talk about your involvement overall with the right to bear arms.
Okay.
How did you get started with that?
Well, my family were hunters. We shot a lot. My dad was, in fact, we went hunting in the fall every weekend. I mean, it drew my mother crazy, but we were really avid.
Bye.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got ancestors going clear back to, my 11th great grandfather was William Brewster, who was the leading elder of the Mayflower Pilgrims.
Wow.
And there is a picture in the rotunda of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., up above, the big, huge mural of William Brewster on the ship Speedwell, with others on the ship. And he is holding a Bible, an open Bible in his hand. He's looking heavenward. And on the ground is a musket, a helmet, and some body armor.
Wow.
And so we're pretty proud of that in the family, because it shows that there was a divine guidance that they were seeking from heaven in their prayers. They were relying on the scriptures to teach them what to do, and yet they had armament there in case they needed to defend themselves or their property against other evil forces.
Oh yeah, sure.
And so that was kind of the beginning of my ancestor here in America.
That's
and then I
a great story.
Moved out west and carried rifles across the plains, Kentucky Hawkins muskets and rifles and everything. And my dad shot a lot, so I grew up with guns.
Yeah.
And then
it's a different knowledge. I did too, but it's a different knowledge, a rural knowledge, a Western knowledge than it is the big Eastern cities. They don't understand. The culture of guns.
And people that haven't been around guns much at all, the only thing they know is what they've seen in a Bruce Willis or an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and it's all shoot 'em up and violence and everything, but they don't realize the gun can really be good. So, in the Navy, I qualified as an expert marksman, carried a gun in my survival vest on the airplane all the time.
Yeah.
And when I joined the airline, I lobbied hard at first to try to get the airlines to allow pilots to be armed in the airline.
Right.
And nobody would listen. The unions didn't want to hear it. The airlines were interested. The FAA said no way. And so we weren't successful. And then 9/11 came along.
Right.
And I lived in New York. We lived there in Manhattan for 9 years. And I was home the morning that the towers got attacked. My wife woke me up. She said, "There's something going on." We looked on TV, and it was like, whoa. Went up on the top of our building, the roof of our building. We could see the very top of the World Trade Center. We watched them collapse. We watched them we saw them go down.
God,
physically watched.
Yeah.
And so I went to the church then immediately, because our church was an official Red Cross center there in Manhattan.
Oh,
I went over there to open it up. We brought in cots and blankets and sleeping bags and food and water for people that were coming up from lower Manhattan that had been displaced.
Yeah.
And it was a very sobering time for the city. I mean, it was very tragic. And then at the same time, down in the Pentagon, the American flight that crashed into the Pentagon, the captain of that flight was a really good buddy of mine. We'd been in the same squadron, 2 squadrons in the Navy together, Chick Burlingame, and that airplane, of course, crashed, and he died in that. So I was pretty perturbed, so I, along with some other pilots, went back and petitioned Congress to try to allow us to be armed, and they finally, within the next year, they approved the Federal Flight Deck Officer Program, FFDO program.
Right.
And so I got qualified then as one of the first FFDOs to carry a gun in the cockpit.
Really?
And so it was...
I talked to a captain once. He was ex-military as well, Air Force, and I said, "Why would you be opposed to it?" And he's a gun owner.
Yeah.
And he said, and his fear was, if they knew that all the captains, all the pilots were armed, then the bad guys would know who to attack in the restroom or wherever to disarm them. Any truth to that?
Nah, I don't know.
No.
We carried our. There's specific procedures we had to follow that are all confidential. We're not supposed to talk about specifically, but there are a lot of the cockpits are armed now. They won't release numbers on it because they don't want the terrorists to know. But most of the cockpits have at least one person that is armed in there too as well. So we could only carry the gun in the cockpit, and so that helped. I mean, it was kind of fun because right after I got qualified, I was flying across the Gulf of Mexico down in Texas. I was sitting in the cockpit in my jet as the captain with my gun on my hip. I wore cowboy boots all the time when I flew. And the flight attendants had brought us up these first class meals. So I'm eating first class, gun on my hip, cowboy boots in a jet, flying across the ocean, and I thought, life can't get much better than this, you know. This is for a guy.
I must have done something right. Thank you, Lord.
It's like the ultimate. So it was great. So yeah.
That's great. Well, there's been an attack on the right to bear arms, certainly, and it's gone on a long time. The NRA has done everything they can to maintain that right. What do you think we should be doing as Americans interested in self-defense and all the reasons for us to carry weapons? What do you think ought to be done?
Well, just education is probably one of the most important things. People just don't understand if they don't look at the details of it. We've got, here at Freedom Fest, which we're participating in right now, John Lott is actually going to be here. And John Lott wrote the book, More Guns, Less Crime.
Yes.
I've quoted him many, many times.
Okay, great.
Because when he wrote that book, he did research on trying to find out if you make stricter laws on controlling gun ownership, what does that do to crime?
Yeah.
Or vice versa. And he found that it was like 100%.
Really?
If you loosen the laws where people can carry more guns, crime goes down, like every single time.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people just are not aware of that. And they think that guns are just really dangerous. So at the university, as a professor there for the last decade, I was armed in class every single day for the whole decade.
Right.
And my students knew it. I was concealed, but they knew that I was armed. It was and I never had to worry about a hostile shooter. I didn't worry about it at all, because if I was armed, so if he came in there, I could just blow him away, and the whole thing would be ended right there.
And you're undoubtedly a better shot, because many terrorists are not very good with weapons.
Well, it could be, and they're kind of crazy too. So so I'm very much a supporter of. I encourage people to be armed. Right now, we're encouraging educators to be armed, and some states are realizing that's probably a good idea.
I think it depends on where the states are, and that could be a west-east thing going on. I'm not sure. The teachers' unions seem to be opposed in large part. What's the logic there? Wouldn't you think they'd want to have their own members, their own people, to be able to defend themselves?
You would think so. The teachers are actually the most viable, because they're right there. Depending on where an attack takes place, all the teachers, if they are armed, they're going to be right there. If you have an armed officer somewhere at the school, by the time he gets across campus, several kids could be killed already before he even gets over there. So, so having the teachers armed is good. Female teachers I can understand, because they don't necessarily have a way to carry a gun like we do with concealed.
Under their jackets or
so it'd be a little more, and then are afraid of it, or a student might get a hold of their gun or something anyway too. But a lot of those fears are actually kind of unfounded. I think if they just did. I mean, it was never a problem for me at all, ever, carrying a gun all the time. And so I encourage them very much to think about that and try to overcome that. I'm not only a life NRA member, I'm an endowment member, which is higher than life.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Mark Skousen, who sponsors this Freedom Fest program, is a life member of the NRA too.
Oh, okay. I'm a member too. I got the hat. I got the magazine. I got it all.
Well, I grew up with Mark in Oregon. When we were teenagers, we were 12 and 13-year-old scouts camping out, sleeping under the stars. And we'd be lying there talking about economic and political theory.
Really?
At 12 years old. I mean,
wow.
So we were very unusual. I don't know. We had an interest in that. We always have.
That is interesting.
So Mark's pretty much gotten into doing. He worked for the CIA for a while as an economic advisor, and he's written a bunch of books. And I followed him all the way through. We've been friends for years and years, and still are.
That's wonderful. It's nice that you came here to support him. Are you surprised that he ended up where he ended up with behind Freedom Fest, or is it a logical conclusion?
Mark is just such a hard charger. He's a go-getter. He is just powerful in what he does anyway too. So I've supported him for years and years. And this venue, this whole program right here is good for educating people, because
Sure.
there are a lot of different topics they discuss here. Everything from
So many speakers, it's unbelievable.
it is for
Yeah.
just various different topics, and so people come together and they share their ideas and learn from each other, and they go back better educated, and so that helps for gun ownership, or for
Sure.
economic viability, or for just the security of our nation. I mean, we're worried about what's happening to the United States right now.
Oh yeah, you know, and when I was growing up, I think you and I are not that far apart in age. You know,
Thank
yeah, I think it's true. You know, I grew up in the Cub Scouts and then Boy Scouts, and we had single shot 22s, and
Yeah.
you know, we learned about target shooting and
responsibility.
and blinking and responsibility. Yeah,
Right, yeah.
And but the education doesn't seem to be there. I don't even know if the Scouts are teaching marksmanship anymore.
Well, there is still a marksmanship merit badge, but the Scouting program it's been suppressed quite a bit just in recent times because
Yeah.
of some things that are happening.
I
you
hate
know?
to see what's going on.
I know, yeah.
You know.
So teaching at the university was very rewarding for me because I am very conservative. Professors generally are not. I became tenured,
I am
actually.
too, yeah. Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
tenured, so at the university,
Wow.
so I could pretty much say anything I wanted. I told my
That's
students,
uncommon, you know?
when I got
It's
tenured, I said, now I can say anything I want. And they were like, like you weren't
Like you
before."
didn't.
So, I know. So I gave them a conservative view that they probably didn't get by liberal professors as
Yeah.
well. But we need to educate the young people to preserve our liberty and our freedom. We're gonna see it erode away
Yes.
with all the talk towards socialism right now. I mean, in the course of my life, I've lived under socialism, I've been under communism, even a dictatorship in the Philippines for 4
Really?
years.
Yeah.
And then our representative republic that we have is vastly better than any of those other systems, because I saw the results of them.
Yeah.
And those countries were disasters most of the time under socialism and communism. Very, very.
Very few people have had your kind of experience that way. And kids, especially socialism, and then you got to just point at the 20th century. How many millions of people were killed
close to 200.
under communism,
Yeah,
you know, for
close
example.
to 200 million that were first disarmed and then executed by their own governments.
Yeah.
So there's a much greater risk for people to be killed by their own government than by a criminal, actually.
Yes.
Which seems crazy, but that is actually statistically
Those are the
true.
numbers.
So, yeah,
That is true.
So we need to, I mean, as a naval officer, I swore an oath to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that oath never virtually expires. So to my dying breath, I am supporting the Constitution and our way of life here in America, which we've created this wonderful system, and we need to preserve it so it doesn't erode away. Which is
An interesting thing about, you know, in the military, you are commanded and you agree to follow orders. However, what I find interesting about the American military is I believe that we, you know, as Americans, are taught to think for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I believe that at least most of the branches of the military are encouraged to have people think for themselves.
Yeah.
I wonder if, you know, God forbid, a dictator took over our nation, and the order was kill Americans. I don't think they'd do it.
No, I agree. It would be
know?
very, very different than other places in the world
Yeah.
where that could potentially happen.
Yeah.
We have so many people that are armed and patriotic here in the U.S.
Oh,
right
yeah.
now that we would stand up to that, I think.
Yeah.
But like President Reagan said at one time, he said, liberty can be lost in one generation.
I know.
If you're not careful.
know.
So we need to really work hard at preserving that liberty and promoting just the concepts that made America great.
Oh,
So,
yeah. And you know, as you mentioned, you're a strong Christian. Let's pursue that a little bit. Talk about the Christian history of the United States, which is also not taught very much.
Yeah.
If you go back to the beginning, you know, as with your relative.
Yeah.
You
William
know,
Brewster.
Yeah.
I've actually had several relatives around the Mayflower.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've got one too. My dad was kind of funny because it was my mother's side who was on the Mayflower.
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's really something to be proud of.
Yeah.
And my dad said, nobody could ever get along with their relatives. Don't tell them.
That's good. The truth comes out. Yeah, exactly.
But that's funny
yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Well, Mary Chilton was my great-great-great-grandmother. She was a teenager when the Mayflower arrived. She's one of the few girls. And she asked
really?
the captain of the ship if she could be the first female to set foot on Plymouth Rock. And he said, sure. So she actually stepped on a Plymouth Rock as the first female ever.
That's
so we know that in
fantastic.
the family. There are some pictures, paintings that have been done of that. So it's
What a
pretty neat.
great story.
And Mary Chilton then later married John Winslow, he came over shortly thereafter, and so they married and lived there in the Boston area.
Wow.
They're buried in King's Church Cemetery there in Boston. I found that one time. So
You did? You went and tracked down the...
I was jogging there on a layover, and I just thought, well, they could be around here somewhere. And I went to the cemetery and found their graves there. So,
Oh, that's
so
what
I
a
am proud of
great
that
story.
American heritage that we have.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Yeah.
And I love.
That's very personal. Yeah, that's
and I
very
love
personal.
our country. And I've lived abroad for 13 years. I lived in Germany for 4 years, and I speak German. And lived in the Virgin Islands, lived in China, lived in Philippines. So I've seen a lot of the world. And so when I come home, I kiss the ground when I get back here to the U.S.
Oh, I bet you do.
Oh, I do, because it's so
just
wonderful.
the practical experience you've had with it. You know, I wish everyone could have that experience, particularly young people. You know, and you have that perspective too, having been a professor. You know, there are some things that need to be taught.
And it's very rewarding to see young people when they pay attention and listen, and then later on they tell you. I ran into one not long ago. I couldn't even remember him. It's so long ago, and he said, "I remember the story you told us about. You know, one time when a carrier qualified on the carrier, and he told me the story. It was like, you can remember that? That's amazing." So we do have an effect on young people.
That's
it
really important.
Can. And then we're very involved in church and helping young people in their religious views and all.
Oh,
that
that's
as well
great.
too. And,
we'll talk about that. Can you stay a little longer?
Sure.
Okay, great. We'll be back with Captain Jim Green right after these messages.
Las Vegas Tonight profiles the innovators of many wonderful Christian ministries in Las Vegas and around the world. Each of the hundreds of episodes of our show is a fantastic story of how Jesus Christ can change hearts and lives. To keep Las Vegas Tonight on the air, Dale needs your prayers and financial support. Please prayerfully consider becoming a monthly partner of Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries. For just $40 a month, your partnership with the ministry will plus a copy of Dale's best-selling book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. This page-turner highlights 10 of Dale's most intriguing guests, plus his own personal testimony on his walk with Jesus. If you act now, Dale will also place you on his weekly personal devotions email list. You'll be uplifted and genuinely blessed by his optimistic view of the Christian life. You can become a monthly partner of the ministry by going to Dale at LasVegasTonight.tv or write him at Dale Davidson, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Thank you for watching Las Vegas Tonight, and may God bless you abundantly.
The Lord has made it possible for our show, Las Vegas Tonight, to thrive. We've produced well over 300 episodes telling the remarkable stories of Christians who have set out with Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries. I'm commanded to be a good steward of all the donations our partners have so generously provided to us. As you can imagine, it takes a great deal of money to keep this program on the air in the United States and around the world. Please prayerfully consider making a one-time donation or becoming a monthly partner of Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries. Just go to vegassaints.org and select Make a Donation, or send your check or money order made out to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For more information, call 702-480-3989. Thank you, and God bless you. We are here with Jim Green, Captain James Green, formerly a U.S. Navy pilot and a commercial pilot and an instructor and a professor and everything.
All the above, yeah.
Exactly. He does all of the above. Yep. We were talking a little bit about Christianity, about religion, about the Christian history of our country, and your very personal connection to the Mayflower. What can we do to educate young people on the importance of religion, on the importance of Christianity, particularly those who are raised in a secular household, or perhaps even a household antagonistic to Christianity? What can you do?
Well, teaching young people, we have 2 sons. You have 4, we had 2 sons.
Yeah, that's great.
They were good, they're good boys. And they're both MDs right now as well.
Oh, wow,
and
congratulations.
And one has a law degree also, so we're pretty proud of that.
Wow,
we did homeschool part of the time too.
Did
so
you? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier with other guests.
Homeschool was very valuable for us, and it paid off really well. And so we taught our boys well, so they grew up with character and integrity, and they've worked hard. And just like my dad, I told you, put himself through medical school. When the boys were ready to go to school, I told them, I said, when they were doing their homework, I said, I see you're earning money. And they said, I'm not earning money, I'm doing my homework. I said, no, you're earning money, because I said, you're going to have to pay for your tuition yourself later on, and this will help you to get scholarships, and it really did, paid off well for them. But at the same time,
you did a great job with them. Congratulations.
Well, I've got a good wife. She's great too. Yeah. So, but we went to church all the time, and it was not like we forced them. I mean, some people say, well, it's you're dominating them. We give them choices. Like we would say, do you want to wear your blue tie or your red tie to church today? So they had a choice.
That was about the only choice we had.
But they turned out to be really good kids, and they're both very good Christians today. They both raising families. They got children now. They're teaching their children. We read the scriptures in our home a lot. In fact, there were times we read almost every day. We'd read out of the scriptures a little bit, and just talk to them. We expected our boys to go through kind of rebellious stages in their lives, and they really never did. I mean, we kind of waited for that, and it never happened. I think it's because we talked to them. We just had a communication going on, ongoing communication about religion and life and values and things like that. When we were in China, when we taught over there, we couldn't teach religion at all. I couldn't talk politics or religion, but the Chinese students were starved for things like values and integrity, which they really don't have. And so we taught those things to them, and they just ate it up. They loved it. So teaching young people today that religion is really an important part of our life, I think will help them. It'll bless their lives and their children's. So I look at my heritage going back multiple generations, how blessed I was to have the examples of those family members that went before. And I feel an obligation to live up to my part for the future generations.
Good for you.
And so when our grandkids come over, we get books out, read them stories from the Bible, and talk about things that are important, that matter, that not just fluff and waste of time things. So much of TV and movies and everything today are like that.
And so much of it was, and I don't want to, in the old days, I know. But culturally, it was always there. We never thought twice when I was in school. I mean, we said a prayer every morning. We said the pledge.
That's great.
The 10 Commandments were there until it became illegal to do it. And, I never really understood why that happened. I mean, I understand the Supreme Court and the rulings and all the rest of it, but we were so strong. We were so. It seems to be okay, but with us, it's a negative thing.
It is, and it's because of, I think, evil forces that have caused that.
I agree.
Do. I mean,
I agree.
I just think we should be teaching the Bible in schools, and in fact, we have our grandkids are in a private school, where they used to be more people just involved in trying to divert us the course back on track. Just to even with the Constitution, I call myself a patriotic constitutionalist rather than just a Republican. Because I think if we were to get back to the Constitution, we could solve a lot of our problems.
Oh, sure.
And of course, the Constitution is full of belief in God. I mean, there's everything right there is just...
And the signers of the Declaration, the signers of the Constitution, it's like minister after minister after pastor after,
And they acknowledge. Even Thomas Jefferson said he couldn't have written what he did without divine intervention. And
I know.
So if we can...
And he's getting a bad rap.
I know. Isn't it sad? And George Washington, too. It's like, what are people thinking? So,
I know.
So it's an uphill battle, but we just can't give up. We have to continue trying to teach them how important it is. I was just with one of my little granddaughters the other day, and we talked about some things that really mattered, that are significant. She was babysitting her other granddaughter, and rather than just talking about how's your soccer game going? We talked about some things that are significant in interpersonal relationships and getting along in family and so forth. So I think we can do a lot. We can keep our country on track if we just try a little bit harder.
Yeah, and so much of it needs to happen at home. You know,
Yeah, it is.
even with the limitations in the public schools, as far as religion is concerned, that's not the major issue. You know, it's what's going on at home.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and we need to encourage our churches to have outreach and welcome people who don't have any knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, come in here and let us
All get along together.
Oh, you know, we all have that in
absolutely.
common.
So,
you know,
I was with my Baptist brother-in-law the other day.
Oh, is that
He's
right?
a great guy, just wonderful, wonderful guy. So yeah, but you know, my wife was homeschooled. I mean, we homeschooled, so she was a stay-at-home mom for a lot of years.
Yeah,
When we got married, I said, I will work hard enough that you can stay home and raise our children.
Sure.
That's important to me.
Yeah.
So she did. So she was always there for them. When they got home, she was there. And we never had a TV. That was kind of a unique thing. We decided.
in those days, it was.
We
yeah.
didn't- we
it's
didn't-
more common now. My kids don't let their kids watch TV.
That's great. But we decided just
and
to-
I'm on TV. There you go.
We just decided to try to raise them without it. So people think, well, they're going to be misinformed. They won't know what's going on. So my wife would, at dinner, I insisted we had dinner together every night.
Yeah,
So she
yeah.
would have a topic of current events ready to discuss at the dinner table.
Wow.
Of what was
God
going on in
bless
the
her.
world. And so we
Yeah.
would finish dinner. We would stay there at the table sometimes for an hour and a half talking about current events, what was going on in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
Just talking, interacting with it, which is
That's so great.
pretty unique, but it was fun. It brought our family close together.
Yeah. It wasn't in my household. My mom was a school teacher, and she would plan, I'll never forget this. She would plan summer vacations as a field trip. We
That's so
saw
cool.
them all,
Yeah,
you know,
that's so neat.
and we'd get out
Yeah.
and we'd learn a little bit, and that stuff stays with you.
Oh yeah,
You know?
that's great. Yeah,
You know,
we did
it's-
that. Well, being a pilot where we could fly for free anywhere, and then doing homeschool was great because we would study like both my wife and I have Scottish ancestry, so we
Oh,
we
yeah, I do
studied,
too. Yeah.
Real cool.
Yeah, Scotsman.
We studied about Scotland a lot, you
Yeah.
know, everything, the history of it, and then we
Yeah.
went over there. Spent 2 weeks driving all around, from all the way up to Aberdeen, and visiting castles and walking on the land where their
Yeah.
ancestors had been, you know, and
Yeah.
so those are kind of things that people they're so tied up and busy they just don't get around to doing those kind of
Yeah,
things today.
yeah.
So it was really. And then my wife, she's a go-getter too. So when the boys were gone, when they finally were raised and out of the house, she went back to law school.
Oh,
So
okay.
she got her law degree when she was 50 years old.
Congratulations
And I was
to her.
very proud of her.
That's not nothing.
Oh, that was hard.
Law school is hard enough.
It was really hard, but she did it. And so
Yeah.
I'm really proud of her.
Oh
for
boy,
that
what an
accomplishment
amazing
as well.
family
So,
you have.
I
Yeah.
feel
How
very
many
blessed.
grandkids do you have now?
We have 10 right now, and one more on the way next month, August.
Wow,
actually, so-
congratulations.
Yeah,
I have 9, you got me beat.
Oh, cool. Well,
We'll keep trying.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Kids are great. Grandkids are absolutely wonderful.
Oh
so
yeah.
they
It
are.
is so much better. You know, they say it's the
know.
cliche. I love my kids. I love being a dad. But this is so much better.
I know, it really
You
is.
get,
Yeah.
First of all, you don't think you can love another human being that much.
Yeah.
You know, it's
You're just-
incredible.
yeah.
And not having to discipline them is absolutely the
I
best.
know, exactly.
I mean, I'm not going to let them run out in front of a car.
Yeah.
I mean, you know. But it's
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, I think you need some powdered sugar too. You know, it's just let's
Yeah,
have
exactly.
donuts.
I know, yeah, exactly. You can spoil them rotten and then hand them back to
That's right.
kids. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And you know, and you, yeah, I think you need to take a drum home to your mom and dad.
Yeah, exactly.
And why not a bugle?
Yeah, exactly.
Why-
And squirt gun too. So, yeah. I know.
So you're going to stick around at the conference? What's a good thing for people to go and see when they come to a Freedom Fest?
Well,
would you
it's
say?
really hard because there's so much. I mean, the schedule is just massive.
I know. I was amazed.
All that's going on.
Yeah, there must be 150 speakers.
There
at this
are,
thing.
and each hour there's so many that you have to pick which one you want, which is
Yeah.
really hard to decide.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we try to have a balance of economic, financial, political, social,
Yeah.
media, whatever, just to have a balance of it as well.
Well, some of the
too,
people
so.
I've interviewed have just been all over the place, but all remarkable and all in favor of freedom and smaller government and the Second Amendment and those kinds of things. But the way they approach it and the way they're going about living their lives are just all over the place.
I know, yeah.
It's kind of nice. It's the way it's supposed to be, right?
Well, Mark and I, we took a trip together from Utah up to Idaho year before last. We drove up there to Sun Valley. We just the
Oh,
two of
yeah,
us
beautiful place.
We had a great time
Oh,
anyway. But
yeah,
he was talking
yeah.
about he's already projecting ahead to this year.
Yeah.
The Wild Wild West, you know. And so I told
Oh,
him
that
I
was a
said,
great theme.
It is, yeah. So I told him, I
yeah.
said, well, Mark, a lot of people think that the Wild Wild West was really dangerous. It was shoot 'em up and gunfights all the time. I said, actually, it was very safe because
Yeah.
everybody was armed.
Everybody had a gun.
Everybody had a gun, so
Yeah.
nobody dared
Yeah.
rustle your cattle because they knew they'd get shot right at the spot, you know.
That's
And
right.
so he thought, well, this would be a great Freedom Fest topic. So
Oh, that's right.
so he worked that out, and it's been really fun. So
Yeah, it's really interesting. I spent years in Arizona and the land of Barry Goldwater, and then worked for President Reagan. So I had a chance to meet a couple of great men and who had that approach, and the Western ideals of freedom, of self-defense, of self-reliance, and so on. Just in general, the West, Western civilization, but also the Western states, and I think we need to do whatever we can to export that, particularly to the coasts. Not that I'm being prejudiced or anything.
Exactly.
Isn't that the truth, though?
It is, yeah. Middle America compared to the coast, it's
flyover country.
It's changing a lot. So
it's true, and in media, I know a lot of people who work in media, a lot of reporters, and a lot of motion picture people, entertainment people, and some who grew up on the East Coast or the West Coast and all have only lived there do have an arrogance about it. And I do my best, being an old Buckeye from Ohio, to explain there's actually human beings in here, and we have thoughts and feelings. And what you guys are doing, often in the entertainment and media and the news worlds are not helping our country. They're not helping anything, not even your own cause.
And it's not what most people want. So, when I moved from Texas to New York, we lived right in Manhattan. And so my Bubba friends in Texas, they were like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" They thought it was insane to think of living, but we love the city. It was really fun living in New York.
It's a great place to live.
But when my wife and I went there, we decided we're not going to be like New Yorkers that kind of were standoffish, So we would walk down the street, and we'd say hi to everybody. Hi, how you doing? Hi, If people look at us,
you're not from around here.
No, but you know what? They would respond back. Hi. Like nobody had ever done that for them, and so we
would approve. Jesus would have liked that.
Well, thank you. I hope so. Yeah. Ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, is prove ourselves here in mortality.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. The work he's done here, I've never been to one before. I was invited by the media people, and I appreciate their invitation.
Great.
And I was so impressed by what I saw. I'm certainly going to come back.
Great.
Super. And I hope they do it here and leave some money here.
Yeah.
We like that part.
They talk to everybody. They love it. So it's really been nice.
Yeah, and Las Vegas is all about freedom.
Exactly.
Most of it's good.
I know. Yeah, exactly. There is a lot of good. I have family in the area here as well too.
I'll tell you, the first year I was here, my wife and I were like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah.
It was a little strange to get used to, but now, it's
a lot of good people around.
Oh, it's great machines in them. I told my pastor that one time too. I said, instead of talking about tithing all the time and trying to convince people to tithe, why don't you just put some slot machines?
Layovers in Reno and Las Vegas, generally the hotels, they'd give us like a roll of nickels or something, each time. The whole crew of flight attendants, everybody would get them, so I just saved mine throughout the whole month. So at the end of the month, I asked the rest of them, I said, "So, how much have you got?" They'd all lost it all. It was gone. And I said, "I've got 5 rolls of nickels still." So teaching the gambling doesn't really pay off.
No, it's a strange psychology. My very first trip to Las Vegas before I moved here, I'll never forget this. There's a woman standing at a slot machine, and she was feeding quarters in. I said, "She's got a grasp of what's going on in this town." It's too funny.
Well, I used to fly in here a lot too. When we were flying into Vegas, the people were excited. They were thrilled. They had money in their pockets. They were going on vacation. It was exciting, And then flying them out, totally different. Money's gone, vacation's over, they're broke, they're sad, and they're depressed, going back to work now. It's completely different.
They're tired.
Exactly.
I know, the whole thing. Captain, thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Jim Green, Captain Jim Green, who is a wonderful guy. Thank you for stopping in.
It's been fun to talk to you.
Bringing us your perspective.
I appreciate it, Dale.
Come again next year if you're here.
I probably will.
Okay.
All right.
God bless you.
All right.
And thank you all for watching. And as I try to say each and every episode, when it comes to Jesus, walk with him. God bless you. Hello, I'm Dale Davidson. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Las Vegas Tonight. Allow me to take just a few moments to let you know how you can learn more about some of the fascinating guests that I've interviewed. My new book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints, is now available around the world. In it, I profile amazing people who make Las Vegas something much more than just a place to party. These compelling stories often tell of people who came to Las Vegas for reasons much different than the innovative ministries they ended up leading right here in Sin City. Take, for example, Tommy Scott, known as Hitman to his fellow members of an infamous gang in South Central Los Angeles. Tommy was serving time in a Las Vegas jail and contemplating suicide. Tommy immediately began studying the Word and has become an on-fire evangelist and Christian author. Then there's Annie Meadows. Annie began life in a rural part of Kentucky, increasingly was fascinated with the occult, and eventually became a full-fledged witch. Rejecting anything having to do with God, she angrily vowed never to attend church or have anything at all to do with religion. Then, like Tommy, she had an encounter with the living Christ and now travels the world as a gospel singer and writes Christian children's books. Man who felt he surely didn't need Jesus. His wife and father-in-law convinced him to attend church, and he felt a stirring that made him investigate the Bible's claims. Telling the Lord that he needed answers to his objections, he found those answers in a supernatural way, and is now leading a remarkable church, Casa de Luz, in what's called the Naked City, which is a neighborhood just off the famous Las Vegas Strip. His church is serving that community in amazing ways. Doc Jones traveled to Las Vegas from New York on a personal mission to make as much money as he could. A born entrepreneur, he started a photography business that specialized in taking pictures of groups of partiers at the hot nightclubs on the Strip. He then learned that by referring young guys to the city strip clubs, he could pick up lots of cash from the club's owners. That evolved into sending young women who were wannabe strippers to these so-called gentlemen's clubs, and then he managed their careers. Eventually, he felt so empty and despondent that he too thought seriously of suicide. Hearing a sermon about the prodigal son caused him to dedicate his life to Christ. Now an exceptional musician and composer of gospel rap, hip-hop, and spoken word genres, he is helping change Las Vegas from a place where sin abounds to a city where grace abounds more. Pastor Clegg Seth was an aspiring actor and screenwriter in Hollywood and a strong Christian who wanted to make a real difference for Christ in the entertainment world. But the Lord called him to establish a crisis hotline for runaway teens who were coming to Hollywood to pursue their silver screen dreams. He then started halfway houses for men and women with substance abuse and other problems. He also helped set up a similar men's home in Las Vegas. At one point, he developed a gambling habit, but the Lord delivered him from that problem, and he now devotes his life to sharing Christ with men in prison, serving seniors in a church setting, along with visits to nursing homes and hospitals. He has continued his quest to influence Hollywood through a ministry called the Christian Studio. I personally really look up to Clegg Seth as a model of how a Christian should live and serve others. He truly is one of the Vegas saints. Read these stories and more in this 226-page book, Las Vegas Tonight, From Sin City to Vegas Saints. You can get your copy in several different ways. Go to my website, order it on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. It's just $15.99 plus shipping. For more information or to make a donation to Dale Davidson Ministries that will help us keep this program on the air, please call 702-480-3989. Or you can write to us at Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. And thank you so much for watching Las Vegas Tonight.
A potential audience of more than 50 million people is reached every week by Las Vegas Tonight. To keep the important message of Christ's love on the air, we need your prayers and financial blessings. Please send your tax-deductible gift to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. For a donation of $25 or more, we'll send you a copy of Dale Davidson's new book, Las Vegas Tonight, from Sin City to Vegas Saints. You'll love these inspiring stories of Las Vegas Christians who are changing the saints.org. Or call us today at 702-480-3989. That's 480-3989. God bless you. You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with Dale Davidson. Send your tax-deductible gifts to Dale Davidson Ministries, 9030 West Sahara Avenue, number 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. Or call 702.
This show is brought to you by Michelle Kubiak with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, call Michelle at 702-683-6576. Her license number is S.48606. This show is also brought to you by Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa, located on Silverado Ranch, here in Henderson, Nevada. Restore, relax, and refresh. Let's not forget our very own Merrill and Merrick comedy show. This fun, comical TV sitcom duo with Social Media Source Network loves to make you laugh. Mahel Empire Productions. It's a filmmaker based in Las Vegas, Nevada. Founded by Michael and Sonny Mahal, and are dedicated to making feature films. Turn your power on with Broken Bulb Productions. Owned by Russell Rapp, an independent filmmaker based out of New Jersey. This show is brought to you by, let's not forget, our very own GSs. We're also proud to recognize Colorlific Arts with Sonia Scott. Painting is the expression of emotion and feeling deep within one's heart. Let's not forget Makoma Environmental Technologies. Global research, development, and manufacturing of innovative photocatalytic products. Our show is also brought to you by Smile. It's based on true events. It's the story of a couple building a family. Get your copy of his book at Amazon today. We also love our musician with Let Me Be Frank's Productions, family owned by Frank Hermans, who happens to be a veteran entertainer.
Social Media Shows is a production company based here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We offer these services. We've been streaming shows live in real time for over 4 years on major social media platforms and also on our website socialmediashows.com. And we are now on Roku TV. We welcome you to have your own show on our TV network. Call us 651-955-8743 or email us at admin@socialmediashows.com.
Hello, everyone. This is Joseph Skoda with Social Media Shows. Well, I thank all of you for your support through these last several years, and it's been a lot of fun. We've given people a voice they never had before. Now, Social Media Shows is always collaborating with our veterans to help them do things and help out the veterans who are struggling today. And we teamed up with GI Connections, connecting veterans with resources. So please consider helping and donating to this great cause, because we're always doing things for veterans. So GI Connections, Social Media Shows, and you is what makes the world a better place. Once again, Joseph Skoda, proud United States Air Force veteran.